You're good.
Okay. All right, the April 26th, 2021 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting is called to order at 5:32 p.m. Roll call of board members present. Mark Everett, board chair, present. Kate Grandusky.
Present.
Brad Bafaro.
I'm present.
Valerie Ingram. Okay, that's right.
Softball game.
Valerie's away this evening. Narce.
Here.
Okay, and Miley.
Here.
Okay, great, thank you. The school board will hear public comment for unscheduled public appearance received through the designated email address, which is publiccomment@fgsd.k12.or.us and is on the district's website. Comments will be read by district staff at the appropriate time on the agenda and will be limited to 3 minutes. All right. Next, we have the flag salute. So join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time an introduction, if we could have an introduction of the audience and the staff. And I don't know, never know how to do this. I can see people so on my screen here, but if I don't know, if you just want to go ahead and go kind of one at a time.
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent, Interim Principal at Tom McCall.
Okay, thanks, John.
Kevin Noreen, Director of Human Resources.
David Warner, Communications.
Eileen Clute, Business.
Enrique Piñón, Technology Department.
Kimberly Scherer, Director of Student Services.
And then I think we have Brenda and
And Ellen.
why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I'm Ellen Berglund, and I have been working alongside Brenda this year as School Garden Coordinator.
Welcome.
And my name's Brenda Lindsay, and I'm the K-6 STEM TOSA, and I work in the math, health, science, and school gardens.
Welcome. Okay, I think that might do it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Let's see. Approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda as written.
I second.
Okay.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Let's see. We'll do a roll call vote. So I'm a yes. Narce,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and Kate.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Miley, we'll have you do the student representative report if you would like now.
Okay, so I'm just basically going to go over a little bit of what has been going on. So hybrid, our freshman orientation, and then just some concerns and like questions I guess a lot of students I've been hearing about have asked, and you don't have to answer any of them right now, but just keep in mind. So first I'll start with hybrid. A lot of students, they're very happy to be back. I've heard teachers are happy to be back too, but also it is, I don't know the right words, but it is not like normal school, I guess. So not much moving around and not much interacting with a lot of people, but it is good to get social and be able to talk to some of your friends and all classmates. So that's been pretty good. breakfasts and lunches, I talked to Kirkman, and he said that they did expect for students to be taking them, but actually not a lot have been taking them. Our freshman orientation, which was, I want to say 2 weeks ago, it went really well. And so that was with our current freshman group, just to make sure that they're comfortable with everything that's going on in the building and how to get to all their classes. We had about 300-ish students come to that, which is really good. We're also probably going to plan another freshman orientation for those specific freshmen, so 4 freshmen right now, but they'll be sophomores next year. But just to make sure that the ones that didn't come and didn't go to school go in person this year, so make sure that they're all good with that. And then we have some senior activities that are coming up and getting not planned, they've already planned it, but just making sure that everything's good with that. There's going to be a senior sunrise and a senior sunset. And if any of you want the dates, I can get those for you. Also, going into concerns and questions, a lot of the most, I think, question that I've heard around is if we're going to be on campus 5 times a week next year and how that's all going to look like. Are we going to have masks? I know no one knows that right now, but how that's all going to work, if we do a 4-day or whatever, how many days, if we're going to have to start earlier in the year or go later in the year. Also with senior projects, I know that I don't think we did them this year, so if we're going to have to do them next year, career credits, how that's all going to work, honor society, you can't really get your hours in with that. And so, especially with how everything's going right now in the community, you can't really help. I mean, you can help reach out, but it's very hard to get hours right now. And so I think that is all I have for today.
So you had some really good questions there. I just, and I don't know the answers, maybe Mr. Parker can address it, but I do have one question before maybe Mr. Parker might respond generally in terms of some of your other questions. I don't know, but what is the senior sunrise and sunset?
So the senior, I don't really work with that because that's all our seniors. But what I do know about it is our senior sunrise that happens every year. And basically it's been, I'm pretty sure, at Thatcher Park every year. And you go there very early in the morning, sit out with your friends. This year you'll have to be social distance and everything and like that. Okay. And then I think we have done a senior sunset before, but I think it's been at the beach. But we're not allowed to do this year because busing and transportation and all that stuff. So we'll be on the football field this year, and I think Renaissance got a big movie screen thing. I don't know if they're going to use that at all, but it'll be stuff like that and entertainment games, outdoor games, and all that stuff. So okay. That's a question.
Okay. So social event for seniors, morning. Yeah, okay, got it. Okay, thanks.
And then Miley, I would just say a couple of pieces. One is our current look is that we're going to be five days a week. That's what our current vision is of what the fall is going to look like. A normal school day running from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I can't remember your exact hours, but we would run a normal. Most likely at the beginning of the year, we will still be in masks, but that's still, there's a lot of things that we have to kind of figure out about that. Currently, they have released us from meeting essential skills for this year and next year. We haven't talked about some of the things that you've talked about there, but the assumption there is that there's still going to be some sort of leeway given there. But those are kind of some of the things that we're talking about right now. And the senior projects and the career credits and all those pieces will get talked about. But I imagine we're going to be either avoiding or giving a lot of leeway there. I don't want to get ahead of that conversation, but I know what the state's saying about that. So, but I think the big thing, and we'll continue to communicate, is that right now the vision is September, we'll be opening up 5 days a week. a more normal social distancing. Kids might still be in masks though. So that's the basic vision right now.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, thanks again, Miley. All right, Mr. Parker,
Okay.
I'll let you take it away here.
Perfect. Again, I'm going to talk some more about return to school and my return to school update. So I'll push that off, the information there. Sbac testing, with the implementation of in-person hybrid learning and the gradual implementation for the different levels for elementary and secondary schools, we're recommending that the district not participate in Sbac statewide assessments this spring. We'll use the in-program and teacher-generated assessments that are appropriate for this most unusual school year to focus on maximizing the remaining instructional time available for the remainder of the school year and keeping kids engaged regardless of their presence online or in hybrid learning. We're going to push out to parents if they would like us to test their students in whatever of the English language arts or math. We'll make that available, and we'll make sure that if the parents want their child to be tested, we'll make sure that they get tested. We just feel right now this is just not the right time for us to be grabbing school days to try to facilitate this testing. This decision is going to result in a non-compliance notice next year when we file our Division 22. We're going to have to put we did not comply, and what the remedy will be is we'll have to give them a plan of how we're going to fully be compliant next year with our statewide testing. This fall, we will administer benchmark tests in English language arts and math early in the year because we need to know where kids are at and begin to adjust our instruction. Our big piece is we don't want to do that in the spring, waste is maybe the wrong word, take up our instructional time right now when we're just going to have to do this again in the fall with the instruments that we already have. So I would take some questions on the Sbac testing if you have some, but just so that you know, we're not going to test all of our students this year and be compliant with Division 22 on that.
Dave, is it true if parents do opt to have their students tested that they wouldn't receive any results?
My understanding here is that they're not going to receive the individual results, but they would still do some sort of collective results or something. I don't know the that whole part of it, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's pretty interesting. That part that
Right.
you would get individual results. That's
The other part of the plan was not to test all. So the English language arts was only going to be given to a grade level. So there was never going to be, in this testing opportunity, there was never going to be a report for all kids on the subjects, so you would know where your child is at. Again, I think that is leading to part of why we're recommending this.
okay.
Okay, I'll keep it moving then. I got one more. Forest Grove High School Counseling Award. This is great news, a celebration. The American School Counselor Association, ASCA, is pleased to announce that Forest Grove High School is recognized as an ASCA model program called RAMP. The RAMP designation recognizes schools that are committed to delivering exemplary school counseling. Honorees are awarded for aligning their program with the criteria in the ASCA model, a framework for a data-informed school counseling program. And specifically, there's 4 areas there. And of those 4 areas, only one of them is reactive services, which is where counselors spend a lot of their time. Most of this program is around proactive services, is getting out, working with kids before there are problems. So I'm very proud of our high school for getting this. Since the program's inception, more than 900 schools in the nation have earned the RAMP designation. Research findings indicate fully implemented school counseling programs are associated with a range of positive school educational and behavioral outcomes. Forest Grove will be honored at a recognition ceremony at ASCA's annual conference in Las Vegas on July 13th. I can also tell you that across the district, they just kind of finished up the counselor hires, the extra counseling staff that we're putting into place to lower our caseloads down closer to 250. And I was talking to Cassie Kenny in the hallway today, and I think they have one hire left to make before we'll have those folks in our organization, and they're really excited. They felt like the time that we went out, we got great applicants, and we're super excited about this. So Karen, congratulations for your crew, and this is a big deal.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. No, they've been working on this for many, many years, and they've been working hard on this. So it's really exciting. I think you might have said that we're one of 3 schools in Oregon that have this recognition. So it's pretty awesome. They did a great job.
So congratulations. Yeah, that's great.
And with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Mark. I have a couple other things that I'll say, but I'll say them at the right moment.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right, let me get to my screen here. All right. Next is the unscheduled public appearance. The board appreciates community members sharing information during public comments. Public comments should be submitted through the designated email address and will be read by district staff. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol during in-person board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel is not allowed at this time. Are there any comments that have been received?
Yes, we have 2.
Okay.
Let me open those up.
Okay.
Okay, here's the first one. I am writing today to request an end to school policing in the Forest Grove School District. I would like to see SROs removed and replaced with badly needed school counselors and restorative justice practitioners trained in de-escalation, mental health supports, and/or culturally specific social service backgrounds. I would also like to see members of the school board lobby at the state level to support the passage of Senate Bill 238 relating to law enforcement agency personnel in schools, which is currently in the Senate committee. This bill would remove SROs from school districts across the state. In addition, another study found that students at policed schools were much more likely to get arrested in cases where there wasn't enough evidence to actually charge them with a crime, close quote. This means that having a police officer in a school does not actually decrease crime. It only increases the likelihood a student will go through the traumatic process of being arrested for a crime for no reason. Having school security guards exacerbates the racial divides in our country and does not support students, especially students of color. As a town, we can combat this trend by prioritizing the mental health of students instead of punishing them. Please consider making the change to Forest Grove schools and act as soon as possible. Best, Claire Collins, a former student of Forest Grove schools and current local educator. One more. We have one more. Hello, I would like to make a public comment about the SRO position at the high school. A group of us formed last year to look into how the students felt about the SRO position. We received several responses to a testimonial request for input. One of our questions was around whether they would keep the SRO the same as it currently is, change it to an unarmed, demilitarized officer, change it to no police allowed on school campus, or to a mental health provider who could mediate, but could call police if needed. 64% of responses felt they would make some change from the current SRO. Of those, the most popular was the mental health worker at 40%. I am preparing a report from the testimonials we received. I will share it with you. Here is a quote from one of the students who completed a response. Quote, I didn't have many interactions with the SRO, but it isn't very comforting to see an officer in what looks like battle gear standing by the front doors of the school. It made the school seem and feel more like a prison than a high school. Because they would stand by the front door, especially during lunchtime, it seemed as though anyone who tried to go through the front doors would be stopped by them. They were intimidating. Not how any student should be welcomed into the place where they learn, close quote. I spoke with the superintendent after the last meeting, and I believe he has a plan to ask the students how they feel. The school district may also need to develop a metric to determine when a marginalized population's opinion is enough to make a change, even if the majority population doesn't feel the same. Please keep me informed as to when the district will be reviewing the contract for the SRO next year. Thanks, Hope Kramer. That's it.
Thank you.
Mark, I thought I'd just quickly kind of go over, we're still on target to run the engagement with the students at the high school during May. And then we'll bring that data back to the board along with the presentation from the Forest Grove Police Department, Henry Ryman, to kind of talk about what the program is, what its goals are. We're most definitely kind of talking about, I mean, with other districts around us and us writing a new contract, we're already looking at the ways that we want to change the program. And so we'll bring all of that to you sometime around the beginning of June, I believe. I think we'll get the presentation, the last board meeting in May, but just wanted you to know we're still on target to do those things and bring that back to the board.
Thank you, Dave. I know we've talked about that and that process starting in towards the end of April and into May. So thank you. Okay, let's see. The consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent items a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? Okay, hearing none. We'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we go forward with the consent agenda.
And I'll second it. Do a roll call vote. So Narcy?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Kate?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. The next two items are presentations. And the first one is the School Gardens Program. And this is being presented by Brenda Lindsay and Ellen Berglund.
Kathy, do you want me to present my screen and present the slideshow?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the yes.
For you to, yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great. Thanks,
I'd be
Brenda.
happy to. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember which one of us were doing that. Okay. Sorry, this will take just a moment. So I've had the opportunity to work with the School Garden Program for the last 2 years. And what has been most apparent to me is that our School Garden Program has a lot to do with many more things than just school gardens. They affect so many people and they do such great work. And so over the last 2 years, I've had the chance to work with Fallon Harris, who's kind of helped put this program together. Tess O'Day, who was our first garden coordinator, and then Ellen Berglund, who was then our second garden coordinator. And they have really taken this project and taken off with it. It's been amazing. So
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing about that. As a reintroduction, my name is Ellen Berglund, and I've had the pleasure of working alongside Brenda and the Forest Grove School District community over this last year as your school garden coordinator. And yeah, we're just going to spend the next few minutes sharing what our district garden program has looked like for students and teachers this year specifically.
Wonderful. And actually, if it's okay, Ellen, I'm gonna take it a little bit back to when we first started CDL. And during that time, we realized that it's hard to access the garden when you can't access the schools. So at that time, 250 garden kits were sent out to students in our district so they could continue their gardening projects at home. And then over the summer, during the 2019-20 school year, we had the summer supports portal, which had academic supports and additional activities in STEAM and English language arts. And in addition, our garden coordinator came up with K-6 garden activities in English and Spanish for students to do gardening activities at home. And this was really our springboard to taking the school gardens and delivering those activities to students at home. And Ellen, if you want to.
Yeah, as far as supporting CDL this year, our main goal was to continue to provide students with opportunities to engage in experiential hands-on learning opportunities from home. And of course, this looked different this year than it has in previous years. We shifted from in-person instruction to virtual field trips, Zoom class visits, video lessons and read-alouds, along with hundreds of take-home learning kits that we designed, assembled, and delivered to K-5 students across the district. So to break that down a bit, the kindergartners at Harvey Clark this spring are bringing home sunflower planting kits equipped with everything they need to start sunflowers from home. And this project is directly tied to their reading, writing, and STEM curriculum. For the first graders, back in the fall, we were able to supply 135 students from across the district with donated pumpkins for their annual Pumpkin Day celebration. And this allowed them to do all of their pumpkin-related math, reading, and science lessons that they would have otherwise done in their classrooms from their homes with their own pumpkins. This spring, additionally, 110 first graders from Cornelius and Harvey Clark are participating in a pollinator project where we are raising mason bees together, observing and learning about their life cycle in real time. And this week, students will also be able to take a virtual tour inside a beehive and sample some local honey. For third graders, over the course of this year, we piloted our Oregon Wheat Farm to Plate unit for 95 students. And in this unit, students were able to grow their own wheat from home. They learned how to make biscuits with the head baker of Slow Rise Bakehouse. And this unit finished up with them baking their own bread at home through some of our take-home bread making kits. And last but not least, all of the fifth graders at Tom McCall this year were able to participate in their annual mung bean growing science project through kits that were designed and delivered with the help of Pacific University students, Tom McCall teachers and volunteers, Brenda and myself. And all in all, this came out to over 700 take-home learning kits that went home to students this year to support experiential project-based learning. Go ahead, Brenda.
Okay. In addition to supporting students in CDL, Ellen has also done an amazing job in supporting staff in CDL.
Yeah.
And if I can get my computer to work, I will show you that.
Yeah, so in addition to these kits, we have also designed some resources for teachers to access on our new School Garden Canvas page and YouTube channel. So these resources include standard aligned lesson plans, read-alouds, virtual lessons, and garden tours. And most recently, we've started working on grade-specific curriculum guides. So based on feedback we received from teachers at the end of last year, we know that teachers are excited about getting their students into their school gardens, but many are feeling unsure about how to go about doing so. And our goal at the end of the day is not to add more work onto our teachers' plates with garden education, but rather to support them in using the gardens as a teaching tool to enhance student learning. So in designing these guides, we looked directly at what students are already learning in their classrooms by grade and plugged outdoor garden-based lessons that enhanced what they were doing in where they fit. And our intention with these is to pilot them with classes next year, ask for feedback from teachers, and continue to integrate garden-based learning into our classrooms.
Did you want to talk about the, oh, excuse me. From that, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about our kindergarten sunflowers project, but I think to do a better job of that, I'm actually going to quote Emily Thursam, kindergarten teacher, who states, "Ellen is absolutely fabulous. Not only is she fabulous, but what she does for our students in the Forest Grove School District is fabulous. Because of her, my kindergarten students and I were able to start sunflower seeds on our Zoom meetings in their own homes with all the needed materials. Now that we are in hybrid learning, we are able to plant our sunflowers at the school together. She took the project to the next level so that I could make it happen and my students could learn about the life cycle of plants and physically participate in it. Continuing this program would not only help myself and my colleagues, but my students to grow their brains in and outside of their classroom. It is so important that our students are able to learn about our earth and to inquire about the world around them. Having our garden coordinator position will help us teachers to implement STEAM even more into our classroom communities." Ellen also led the work for the mung bean projects, which align with our 5th grade STEM unit, plants and photosynthesis. Quote from Amy Payton, 5th grade teacher who collaborated with this group and worked with her student teacher, Hannah Unger. "Ellen and the whole school gardens program is amazing. We had a photosynthesis project where we had to grow 2 cups of mung beans each. Ellen and her team found mung beans, dirt, paper cups, packaging supplies, and paper rulers for approximately 400 students and helped us assemble these 400 kits at school. Please give Ellen and her program our undying thanks." In addition to that, Ellen also got all the volunteers together from the community, from Pacific University, to join our teachers and put these plants together, these kits together.
Thanks for sharing those, Brenda.
Yeah.
I also want to quickly share what has been happening in our school gardens while students have been away. So at Cornelius, we are in the process of installing a solar-powered rainwater catchment system for garden watering. And most recently, we finished a planting of a small apple and pear orchard to divide the playground from the garden. At Dilly, we planned a socially distanced garden work party to keep the grounds safe and in use this year. And we have helped them coordinate compost, plant start, and seed donations. At Echo Shaw, we have supported teachers by providing garden maintenance and bed prep, as well as securing plant and seed donations for their garden. And at Harvey Clark, we have organized Pacific University student volunteers. We've maintained the garden space while students have been away, and we have led virtual and in-person garden lessons and tours. Joseph Gale was able to establish a garden this year, and we have been a part of that support team, offering design advice and compost donations to fill the beds for students to plant in this spring. And at NAMS, we have kept the gardens planted and full this year. We did several garden harvests and produce donations throughout the summer and early fall, and we are working on a grant-funded lunch and recess program for students to engage in next year. And last but not least, Tomahawk's gardens have been composted and planted thanks to many donations this year, and these beds are now ready for the school community to access this spring and summer.
In addition, we provide, well, Ellen and her group has provided family access to the gardens. Do you want to explain a little bit about?
Yeah, sure. So this year we are starting a Adopt a Garden for a Week program. So students can connect with their gardens in the summer by adopting a garden for a week and harvesting all of the produce that comes out of that garden. The watering and the weeding is not part of that process. We're really trying to focus on getting the food that grows in the garden when students aren't around into the hands of families and community. So if you're interested in accessing one of these gardens, or if you're interested in learning more about this summer program, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've included my address here, and I think it's at the end of our presentation as well.
Yes, it is. Thank you. And Ellen has also done an amazing job getting donations and support from our local community.
Yeah, so special thanks to Baker Creek, Blooming Junction, the City of Forest Grove, Eden Acres Environmental Education, Krispy Kreme, Nana Cardoon, S&H Landscaping, Seed Savers Exchange, and West Wind Gardens.
And thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. As I've said, it has been an absolute pleasure to work with Ellen Berglund, Fallon Harris, and previously Tess O'Day on the garden coordinator position. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question really, just a comment. I think it's pretty cool. As you're going through this, I don't know how you manage to do all of that. It's a lot of work. And so, thank you for doing that. My wife's a gardener and she was here watching this. She just loved this. I mean,
Good.
She's the hardcore gardener in our family. So thank you very much.
I have to tell you, we put together the presentation, Ellen and I worked together, and at the end we were like, oh, we need to actually put in the gardens, because the garden program is so much more than just a school garden. So it's been a pleasure to work with Ellen. So thank you.
I just like to say thank you too. It's a passion of mine, and I know a lot of the people involved, and terrific job, and so many kids you reach. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
I was just also going to say that both Tess, Fallon, and Ellen have been amazing at finding money. This program, we support it through part of John's STEM, some money that we have for STEM enrichment, but really they've gone out and found grants every year to help offset and support this. So it's just, I've been very excited about it, but it's really their creativity is continuing to kind of make this thing go. So I, again, want to thank them for continuing to help us keep it moving.
Yeah, the community support has been amazing. And I really appreciate Ellen and Tess and all their hard work to bring that all together.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Let's see. Okay, Mr. Parker, I think transition back to school update.
Okay, let me share my screen here. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with this, which is, this has been our curve, and the news that we got on Friday and that we continuing to get over the weekend is that we're into a fourth surge. And in particular, last time this was graphed, we were at 158. As of about 4:30 today, we're at about 193 and a 5.3% growth rate. At 200 is where we go from, we hit a new phase, right? And I think it's just important for us all to know we're not planning on changing the moving away from our hybrid immediately. Again, the big thing will be, as we work with local county health, will be whether or not we're seeing spread inside the schools. And currently we are not. It's we've been having COVID cases happen in our schools, but it isn't being transmitted between students or between staff. It's coming into our organization. But I just wanted to highlight that we are seeing these increases. It is definitely something for us to continue to monitor. I just wanted today, all I wanted to really do is I asked each of the principals to kind of give me what's going well and what's not. And there's a lot of words on this, and I'll share it with you later if you want to go back and read it. But From Cornelia, students have learned new procedures right away. Staff are smiling under their masks because they're so excited to be around students again. When I ask students if they like school online or in person better, 100% of them say in person. Parents report that their kids are really enjoying being in school and that their kids have adapted really well. One parent called our school day 3 glorious hours now with kids in school. Parents report the challenge. Parents are reporting that it's a challenge getting their kids to log in when they get home from an in-person school day because they think they're done. You'll hear in some other ones that we're talking about, there's some other challenges with our CDL day. From Harvey Clark, having students return to school has been amazing. We continue down this path. We continue to have more families opt in for hybrid. It's heartwarming to see our kids run for the door of school, so excited to get into the classroom. Our staffs work harder than ever daily. I'm impressed with their dedication to the students, and their creativity on how to solve problems is amazing. At Dilly, our staff and students were so glad to be in the building. Our building protocols have helped people feel comfortable and safe. Our next task will be to encourage more families to participate in the hybrid. At this moment, we're also looking to see if we can have our high-risk students attend 4 days if possible. Echo Shaw, it's been great. The students are amazing. They're well-behaved and ready to be at school, happy following the new systems. We're incredibly impressed. As predicted, the number of families deciding to try out hybrid has continued to grow. We get a couple of requests every 2 to 3 days for more students to move from CDL to the hybrid. I think it's because families see the systems we have in place and their children are seeing their peers in classrooms. We love that so many more want to come back. Challenges have to do with the steep learning curve. The technology is great, but we need more time to keep practicing. Fern Hill, we've had a great start to the hybrid. Having students back in the building has energized us all and are seeing hardworking, happy learners. We're getting to add more CDL learners into hybrid on May 3rd. Students are feeling safe and parents are appreciative of all the hard work the Fern Hill staff have done to prepare for hybrid. We're now working to figure out how many of us, how we can get more students into the building 4 days a week. The transition to hybrid at Joe Gale continues to go very well. As we move further into hybrid, more and more families are returning to the hybrid from CDL. We're also expanding the number of students that attend both cohorts where space is available to meet the needs for our families that struggle with access during CDL. Teachers continue to make efforts to encourage families to be in person. Tom McCall, they've had a very smooth transition to hybrid. Our teachers and staff have done an amazing job preparing for this transition and have really done an excellent job with the implementation of simulcast teaching. When asked at the end of the school day at the bus loading zone, how was your day? The reply has been great or awesome. This is our 3rd week of hybrid and everyone seems to be getting into the new rhythm and routines. Neil Armstrong.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Dave, it's interesting to note that today we had 25 requests from parents in CDL to transition into hybrid at Tom McCall. So we're really starting to see a trend of that.
Yeah, definitely a trend across the school district is Neil Armstrong, feel like we should knock on wood before saying this. Week 1 was incredibly smooth. We've had an amazing hybrid team who's been working countless hours into planning out everything in detail. It was fun to see kids, parents, staff all smiling and happy to be back. Some students who came back were students we haven't seen most of the year online. Oak Grove. The transition to hybrid has made all the difference. Staff are reporting having a sense of purpose and feeling effective in their work again. So many of our students have struggled online, now have access to learning. Oak Grove's #1 priority is consistency for our students as we transition between CDL and hybrid models. Our hybrid students continue to attend a full school day in their cohorts, and our highest needs Oak Grove students attend 4 days a week. Simulcast has been the biggest challenge, and we are learning, problem solving hiccups as a team, and hybrid routines are improving every day. And then lastly, before I sum this up, is the The high school, great first week. It was amazing welcoming students into the building at each of our 4 entrances with grab and go breakfasts. Students did a great job of wearing their masks and finding their way to class. It was awesome to see both teachers and students in all of the classrooms today. We're already looking at how to expand access. So if I had to sum up kind of what I heard from principals is we're seeing more and more folks want to get access into from CDL to hybrid. We're also looking at, there are some students that we're needing to get even more access to. We're challenged right now with transportation in that the rules that we're following around 1 student per seat, we might need to think about that as we're starting to get more and more kids back to school. I think our systems at the school are working well as far as masking and social distancing so far. But there's still a lot for us to learn around using the technology and this new way of learning. I know the attendance, what we've seen is, again, I've got basically the March 1st through the 5th, and then the 5th through the 9th. I mean, I think we're seeing a decent attendance right now, but I think what we're noticing and what John was reporting to me is that kids on the days, if you're doing a hybrid, the kids that they're not in person, we're really struggling to get them to log on. And kids who are, when they get home at the end of the day after they're in person, we're having a hard time getting kids to log on. So there's definitely some attendance kinds of issues that we're looking at. I'm still working. I'd like to start getting more and more kids, more and more access, but we're fighting against this, our county going into higher and higher rates of transmission. So it's a real challenge right now because I do want to get more and more kids into our classrooms. Questions that I think, John, is there anything else that just on kind of how it's going on our return to school?
No, I've had the opportunity to visit all the schools except Fern Hill and Echo Shaw, and I'm visiting them this week. Very positive, very excited. You know, you've captured it very well, Dave. Again, it's just making sure that we go after kids that are not, they're getting fatigued at home. And then how can we make space for them in hybrid, you know, with transportation. Our transportation is doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I should say that what we're throwing at them is a logistical, I mean, it's just a real challenge and they're doing a great job, but everybody wants good things for kids right now. And we've got some big challenges to do that.
And these attendance rates, by the way, that's how ODE is requiring us to take attendance. So if a student logs on during the day at the elementary level during that class, then they're present. It's not, again, just a reminder, it's not that traditional every single period attendance like it is at the middle school and high school.
Will there be any challenges, do you think, if more students do return with in-person numbers in a room? I mean, I don't know, do you think? I mean, no? Okay.
No, you picked out, you put your finger on the one thing that we're definitely having to work with, which is, again, currently we've got space in the classroom. The way we've negotiated with our union groups and such is that it's a 6 foot, we're still kind of following that 6 foot distance. Currently, with what we're doing in classrooms, we still have space and room to move more students into those classrooms, but we do need to be concerned. And then I need to open conversations with our union groups about that situation. And again, eventually by next September, we are going to be back. I'm planning on bringing back full, 5 days a week in full classrooms. So we will have a transition between now and then. I just don't know how it's all going to work right now.
Hey, Dave, can you put that percentage attendance screen
Yes.
back up?
Yep. There you go.
Can you talk to me about so for an example, let's just pick one. So on the hybrid 412, 416, there were 92.8% of the kids in hybrid showing up. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
So what are the numbers? Do we know what are the numbers telling me? Do we know? You know what I mean? The number of students that are attending.
That's out of all students that are enrolled.
So
Brad.
out of all the kids that are enrolled, 92.8% of the students are showing up for hybrid. Is that what that
That's
means?
what according to the ODE guidance, they take attendance one time a period. And that means if they log on, they're there. Again, that's why I wanted to point that out.
They're there, right, John?
Brad, they've logged on. You know, there are kids that turn off their camera and remain engaged, but there are kids that I'm sure that turn off their camera, log on, and might open another screen, you know, or help out with other things in the household or whatever. I'm sure that's going on. To what degree we're unable to really capture that?
Brenda?
A lot of times I'll be in a classroom and you'll see just the name, like you just saw with mine before I turn my camera back on. And you'll ask a student a question and they won't respond because I could have just turned off my camera and walked away. But of course, I'm here listening still. But we can't control whether they walk away and turn off their camera or if they're sitting here watching still.
Right, Brenda. So I guess my question is, what are the number of kids that are actually showing up on campus for instruction for that 3-hour period? Do we know, we have that number?
Let me see if I can get that. I mean, I think that one we can grab off of, especially the ones that we have eyes on. But let me do a little bit of work on that, Brad.
Yeah, I don't need it tonight. That's just a question.
Yep.
That's not that high though. I mean, it's 40, it's in the 40s, I think, or lower maybe, but I don't know.
40% of the kids?
Yeah, 40 to 50%, you know, by school have signed up for hybrid. But the question is, how many show up on any given day? Because they do have that flexibility to stay at home.
That's the question. So we're running buttons, so how many of the kids are actually showing up? That I guess that's my question.
Yep. We'll find out.
Dave, I'd like to add something. I'd like to have recognition for what Pete at Harvey Clark and the aides and staff did. They figured out creatively a way for the students to check out books. Not all the elementary schools could do it, but they did it and it was very successful, and it took some creativity. And I just want to say, you know, the staff, you know, from the gardening to all the staff have just been heroic this year in what they've done. And then the curriculum director and the librarian aides applied for a state grant, and they did it in 3 days, and they got the application in on Wednesday. And these will be, if we get the grant, they will get bilingual books for the students. So, you know, it's just amazing in these challenging times how many staff just jump in and do above what their job requires. So I just want to say thank you.
And just, Kate, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that opportunity. It wasn't the curriculum director, it was the district literacy coordinator, Elena Carter, with her group. But yes, that's amazing.
Thank you for correcting me.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. We have 4 action items this evening. The first one is a Teacher Appreciation Week proclamation, and I'll do that one. So the week of May 3rd to the 7th, 2021 is designed as Teacher Appreciation Week. Teachers change the lives of children every day. With the sudden end to the physical school year, our teachers, along with all of our staff members, have done even more to continue education with virtual classrooms and at-home work for our students and their families. Their dedication, patience, and determination helps students pursue their dreams. So we have a Teacher Appreciation Week proclamation that I'll read. Once I read it, I will entertain a motion and then take action on that. So let me read this. This is for Teacher Appreciation Week 2021. Whereas today's teachers mold our future citizens through their guidance and education, and whereas today's teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds and abilities, and whereas our society expects public education to provide quality education services to all children, no matter what their backgrounds or abilities, and whereas our country's future depends in large measure upon the education our youth receive today, and whereas teachers spend countless hours outside their classrooms preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes that its teachers are providing quality education services to our children, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Forest Grove School District Board of Directors designates the week of May 3rd to the 7th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Week in this community, and be it further proclaimed that the Forest Grove School District Board of Directors calls on the community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for a job well done. Dated this 26th day of April 2021, and it has all board members' names on this document, as well as Miley Vernon, our student representative. So is there a motion to approve this?
I'm gonna move to approve this proclamation as read.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Kate?
Yes.
Marcy?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
Okay. And Miley, if you're there. Okay, Miley. What? Miley? No. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you, Miley. All right, since you're doing it as well. Okay, thank you very much. That action item passes. The next item is the interdistrict transfer process timeline and slots. And this is, I believe Mr. Parker is presenting this one.
So tonight in your packet, you've seen the last time we presented the timeline for inter-district transfers. We've also included kind of the recommended openings by grade level, by school. Those were put forth by our principals. And then the last conversation we need to have is how many open slots do we want to open for students to leave our district? The last several years, we've had 20. We're not recommending 0, even though we have enrollments that are very risky, because there's always some occasion for a student to need to leave our district to another district for program. There's lots of reasons that come up. So we would still recommend a number larger than 0. We'd actually probably recommend the 20 again, but I would leave it to you to have a discussion about where you want to be on that. And then I would take any questions that you have around the timeline and or kind of the slots that principals are recommending we open for grade levels.
I have one question, and it's at the high school level. And so in 9th grade, the number of open enrollment slots is 50. That struck out stuck out to me as I was looking at the numbers today. So that seems like a lot. Is that?
Yes, I think, I don't think we've ever filled 50, but I
Yeah.
think there's, what happens with the ninth grade is that we have a lot of our private schools and some of our charters, and those students tend to flow back to our high school in that ninth grade, which is why they've opened up that many slots. And Karen's online, she can tell us a little bit more about that, but that's, I think, the general reason.
Okay.
Yeah, we're also trying to make up for a smaller class that's coming through. So in meeting with Eileen, our incoming ninth grade numbers are smaller than they've been for a number of years. So we thought by opening up a number of extra slots, maybe we could make up for some of that enrollment.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Okay, are there any, maybe we can just talk about the numbers coming in. Any questions from anybody, any board members about the numbers recommended for students that can transfer into the district? Okay, I don't hear any comments about that one. How about going out? Dave has indicated that in the years past, recent years, we've had 20 and sort of a bit of a recommendation for 20 again this year. Any comments about that from the board?
I guess for me, the only comment would be I would recommend 0, but I know 0 is not realistic.
Mhm.
I would like to keep as many of the kids here as we can, just based on what our enrollment challenges are going to be in the future. But 20 seems to be a number that we've used over the last 3 or 4 years, and it seems to be a good number for us moving forward. So I would think that would make the most sense for us.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll move then. I'll make a motion that we approve. Well, I guess we haven't talked about the timeline. I don't. Are there any comments about the timeline? We're acting on this maybe today with the numbers, and then students request release between May. Is it May and June 15th? Is that correct?
Correct.
I think we need to get it done tonight, probably.
Yeah, we do for sure. But I didn't know if people had questions about the timeline. So, okay, I'll move that we approve the timeline, approve the number that has been recommended to come into the district, and approve the number, which is 20, to go out. So I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. I'm a yes. Narce,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Thanks. Next on our agenda is the 2021-2022 youth contact contract, and this is Mr. Parker.
Okay, so again, we reworked, last time we met, we talked through this, but we wanted to put together kind of a refreshed interagency agreement. And so you have that refreshed interagency agreement. In the time that we sent that to you last week, Youth Contact was able to secure another $5,000 worth of funding for this. So the actual price tag is going to go down to $111,603 for 2.0 FTE. And we had 2.0 FTE last year that we paid $87,780 for because they had more grant funding to help out with that. But we had 2.0 last year, we have 2.0 this year. It's $111,603 is the total amount. That actually accounts for only about 54% of the total cost of those 2 FTEs. So it's still a great deal for us. You heard last time kind of the recommendations by our folks in the program and our principals and the rest. But so it's in front of you tonight to take action. 2.0, $111,603.
And I know it says here the districts reviewed the program objectives and outcomes relevant to the needs of the students. Were there any, I guess my question would be, were there any changes that that you could speak to tonight in the contract based on that?
I'll have Kim just talk briefly kind of about where they went with that.
Okay.
So we reviewed the outcomes and we felt they were still relevant, and Judy and I kind of went back and forth on that. We also added some updated insurance information. So Eileen sent some language to me that's in the insurance section, and we also updated I can't remember the Senate bill, but it's around sexual conduct of employees, and we updated that piece as well. If you notice in that first page, right after the billed and monthly increments language, we added the provision that if there's a staff vacancy that happens during the contract terms, that youth contact will reduce the monthly invoice by the portion of expense for the vacated position after 3 weeks to help cover the cost of finding a replacement. So that ensures that if we don't have somebody in that spot, we aren't incurring those costs.
So Kim, just a quick question. Are we happy with the deliverables as far as the objectives for those employees? I mean, do they align with what our expectations are?
They definitely do. I actually looked again this afternoon at their outcome data from the last report, and it's really positive. Judy and I also spoke. There is room in this contract for us to continue to identify areas as we move along that we might want to adjust. So their youth contact is very open to working with us and the student needs that we have.
I guess the next question would be, who are we reviewing that data on an ongoing basis, and who's responsible for it?
So we do review it, and we haven't yet determined a department that's going to be responsible to review that data, but we can get back to you on that.
All right, thanks. Mark, you're up.
You're muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. No other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the contract as written.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comment or discussion?
Mark, can we move with the adjustment to the price that Dave had mentioned?
Okay, all right. So is that 5,000? So what is that?
It's 111,603.
111,603.
I move we make the adjustment for 111,603.
I second.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Kate?
Yes.
Narce?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so that passes. Thank you. All right, last, I think this is our last action item this evening, and this is coming back to us. This is the CNC machine purchase for Forest Grove High School. And this is an amendment. So Karen O'Neill and Arnulfo Martinez are presenting. So
Arnulfo could not make it tonight, but first of all, thanks for approving the machine 2 weeks ago. We're just asking for another one. So no, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. So Arnulfo contacted the company right after we got approval.
That was good.
And
that was good.
And they couldn't deliver it for 6 months. Well, with the high school success funds, they wouldn't give us that kind of an extension. And so he went to one of the other bids that you guys had taken a look at, those 3 bids, and had a conversation with them. They can deliver in August. And so we went through ODE, and they approved that extension with the Measure 98 funds. We needed to bring it back to you for that approval. It does, Arnulfo wanted me to ensure you guys that it does have that safety feature, and they will deliver in August. So we just need that amendment to go with a different machine than you guys approved a couple weeks ago.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Karen? Okay, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the CNC machine?
I will move that we purchase a CNC machine for Forest Grove High School and the amendment to the last recommendation.
I second.
Moved and seconded, okay. We'll do a roll call vote. So I'm a yes. Narce,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes, Mark.
Okay, that motion that passes. So
Thanks, you guys. Sorry you had to hear it twice.
okay, that ends the action item portion of the evening. The last area is future action items, and Mr. Parker has, I think, just the 2020, 21, 2022 school calendar for us. I don't know if you want to point out anything on that, Mr. Parker, or not.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Kevin kind of talk through where we're at with this and kind of show you kind of our first reading of this. So I'm going to have Kevin start on that.
All right, good evening, Chair Everett and board members. Just want to review the calendar is in your packet. I'm going to go ahead and just put it up on the screen real quick so that the audience also has an ability to see that. So can you all see that there? Let me get rid of this other window back behind me. Are you able to see that on there? I know that it's kind of small, but it's okay. So just wanting to point out a couple, we did do this with a committee. We had board member Ingram. We had representation from the high school, middle school, Tom McCall, and elementary administrator level. We had FGEA representation, OSCA representation, and we've come up with this draft proposal. So the first day that teachers would come back would be this August 31st date. First day for students, you'll see in September here, the 8th for the 1st through 5th, the 7th, and the 9th grade students, and then the rest of the students come on the 8th or the 9th. And the next day, the late start, this is always something that we need to point out and make sure that we've gotten lots of feedback that it's always challenging to try to start that first. If we started school Wednesday, that's a late start. And so we're not going to make that the first late start. We've moved that a week back to the 15th. I think that will help with parents and everyone else just trying to get into the routine. And that was the committee's recommendation, that's where that came from. Then the last day of school, we get into June, and I'll address that in a moment. Because of the way that we start with our teacher workday after the holiday, that's what pushes those wraparound days of the last 2.5 work days for teachers into the following week in June, on June 20th there. And this looks very similar to what we've had as a calendar going back 2 years ago, right? If you remember, we've had lots of these changes this year due to the pandemic, but this structure of a calendar has a very similar look and feel and format in terms of days, holidays, all those things to what you have approved and what we've done as a district going back a couple of years. So I'll just point out a couple of other things. One, we just have to, we worked with the C&I department, and that 31st day, usually that needs to be a teacher work day, which is technically the letter P, not a letter I. So we'll go ahead and make that change. If you remember, usually the in-service week gets sandwiched by a teacher workday at the beginning, a teacher workday at the end, and then we do the professional development and the welcome back in between. So we'll make that change before we bring it to you for adoption in May. And then another item that came up from last year's calendar discussion was, and this came up from the licensed, was there was a discussion last year that at the high school level in particular, the turnaround time between semesters where there is a grading day, you'll see that on the calendar here on June 28th, right, is the Friday. So that's technically the last day of the semester. The 27th is the last day of students for a semester. That
January 28th?
yes. Do you see that up there on the Friday? Okay. So so the discussion that was had last year, and actually the FGEA went ahead and did a survey out to their members, was the high school staff was saying, you know, the high school staff don't always need 2.5 work days at the end of the school year. That is primarily used, it sounds like, more from like at the elementary level for, you know, getting the classrooms boxed up, cleaned up and things like that. And the high school folks said, you know, we could really use one of those work days at the semester, the in between, the break right between the first semester and the second semester. So that was a discussion, and actually last year we didn't move forward with that in there because there was almost kind of this 50-50 split between the membership of the license between secondary and elementary, because at one point we said, well, we needed to do everyone that way, right? Move the entire day. And that's what kind of got that split between the members. So we recently had a conversation. Yeah.
What does everyone mean?
I'm sorry, all licensed, the licensed membership.
Elementary and secondary?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah. So, so in the recent conversation, when we talked about this at labor management was, you know, what about a proposal of moving that workday only for secondary to the semester break, so that you would have, actually, if you look at this calendar here, January 31st, we would take one of the teacher work days at the end of the calendar and move it here, so that the secondary staff would have a grading day to finish the semester, a teacher work day, and then you would start the second semester on a Tuesday. The one thing with that split is what that means is the elementary calendar would follow exactly here, right? So students would be, that would only affect the secondary. So when you get down to the end of the school year in June, this stays the same for elementary licensed staff, right? And elementary students. And by shifting this P day on June 17th up to January, the last day of school then shifts for just the secondary students. It's a half day of school, it's not a full day, would shift over to that Friday. So Dave, I don't know if you want to add some more information on that.
Here's what we're going to do, which is we think this draft, they only made one draft because of the draft that started before Labor Day didn't make much sense. So we're bringing you the one draft, and this is the one that the committee feels strongly about. We've got a little more work to do with our union groups around that idea that Kevin was just bringing forth. What I can tell you is for secondary members, 90% of them said they needed the prep between the two semesters. Elementary folks are pretty much exactly the opposite way, which is they're like, we need it at the end. So it created some issues in our groups. So I think we'll do a little more legwork on this and figure out what that might mean. But I think I'm a secondary guy, and I know that time between the two semesters is critical. So I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but we'll bring you a new draft, a final draft, I hope, with whatever we come up with there. We just wanted to kind of give you an awareness that we're talking about this.
David, how are we gathering the information? Is the union gathering the information, or are we?
Well, it's a little bit of both. The last survey we put out was like last spring on this issue. The pandemic kind of sidelined us on this. But we collaborated with them. It wasn't we talked about it, labor management, and they went out, they kind of told us what was going on, and we worked with them around it.
I guess Karen, what do you think of that?
I've had, just a lot of my staff ask for that extra day, ending a semester, especially for our semester teachers, but also for our year-long teachers, just having that day of prep. So the finals week and the grading is pretty intensive to end a semester, and it consumes all of their time. They don't really have time to prep for the next semester. So then they start on Monday and they feel like they're just going 110 miles an hour, or they spend the entire weekend, getting ready. So that extra day to prep for second semester is huge.
I get that. What about at the middle school level?
So the middle school is the same way. I think what we needed to think through was kind of what Kevin was trying to explain. Like, it does something a little bit different, which is the high school kids, if we move one of those P's, it means they go an extra day longer. And we just need to think through some of those and just make sure we've thought about all of that. I think we have, but that's the piece that needs some more thinking. But the middle school has the same issue.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
The other effect that has, I'm sure you figured this out, is that elementary students then, right, would only have that half day. Their half day would be on a Thursday. And the secondary, technically, you'd be in finals week, and that would be a full day. And so there, you have elementary students that would be released and bused home with potentially having siblings still in school, right, for the rest of the full day. And then when you move to that Friday, elementary students would have no school. And if they had siblings, their secondary siblings would only have a half day. But Karen, you can speak to that
Yeah,
too.
so I think what we would do is we would shift. So what would be our normal final schedule? We would move a full day of instruction, and then still do our finals on that Thursday, Friday, but just move the full day of instruction to where the finals would have normally been. So we still capture a full day instruction, but we just shift everything. So we'd still be a half day on that Friday, but capture a full day still, if that makes sense.
Yep.
The last thing that I'll just point out to you all that the committee supported was the HR department has gone ahead and looked at what it would be like to create a parent calendar for each level. Because you all know that this is a very challenging calendar for a parent to try to figure out when is their student in school and when is their student not in school. And so we are developing, and the committee supported this recommendation, where each level would have a calendar for a parent that basically said, your student is in school on this day and not in school on this day, so that they don't have to kind of try to navigate, because there's a lot of information that is filled in the district calendar, and lots of good feedback from parents or from principals and staff saying that they think parents would find that helpful.
That's a great idea, Kevin. Very good idea.
So we'll come back in May. As Dave said, we'll do our homework on this and then because we know that lots of people really are wanting to make plans for the following year for, just their lives and everything.
You're muted again, Mark, I think.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. And Dave, okay, we're down to the last item for the board meeting here. Board discussion or board comments. Future board items or board discussion. I have one thing to say, and that is that I think all of us get the OSBA emails, and the Ways and Means Committee now is doing they call it their road show, and they travel around the state virtually to try and take input from community members and board members about school funding. And I would just encourage folks to consider submitting a comment in support of adequate funding for schools. The number that's been thrown out is 9.1 billion, and that's across the state. That's going to be a cut in funding for all school districts. I think if you read today's legislative review, the Ways and Means did something that they've never done before, I think, which was that they wouldn't allow school board members to testify on the virtual. Well, they did for the first two, they do 5. And I think on the third one, they said, we're overbooked. And so we're not going to allow school board members, but we're going to allow community members. So they've never done that before. So I would just encourage you, if you get those emails, sometimes they even have a little bit of a script of what you can say if you want to email your legislator, but I'd encourage you to be involved in advocating for a higher level of funding. So that's my comment for this evening as we close, unless there are any other comments. Okay, we are, let's see, I have to, because we're going to executive session. There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 6:56 p.m. to executive session under the authority of Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS 192.6601 and 192.6602I, evaluation of the superintendent. So thank you.
And Mark, that's a separate Zoom meeting. I sent you guys a calendar invite for that.
Okay, got it. So we close out of this and we come back to that one.
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good night.